relationship is just a part of your life, not your whole life. Some plants require more water, some requires lesser water. Why you want to pour all water in one plant? Pour it in 10 plants. You have other relationships also. Every 6 months after for TV shows, go for physical tests. You all should go for therapy. It's better, you go to your car for servicing when it is running condition. Why to get into the therapy room when there is some setback?
Very true. Hello everyone. Welcome to Whose Race Are You Running? This is Sia. I am Rajiv and we are here to talk about you.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about you and that one other person with whom you cannot live and you cannot live without. We are here to talk about intimate relationships today. And to talk about intimate relationships, we have today with us one of the most renowned therapists in our country. Welcome, Dr. Nisha Khanna.
Welcome, doctor.
Thank you, Rajiv.
So, what are the most common conflicts that you see in couples, let's say between their 30s and 50s?
I would say when two people have different personality traits, two extreme personalities, we called it complementary. One is seeing half the glass is empty, half is full.
Right.
So, but the only thing is that's okay. The chances of 90% couples are complementary. Only 10% are symmetrical. Chances of growth is maximum with complementary couple. But how much you understand each other. Like it can be 9, it can be 6 also.
Right. Are there different kinds of conflicts or anything like that, or different reasons why people have conflicts?
So when we say is the contempt, and then people don't appreciate and give respect to other person's opinion.
So respect is one big reason for conflicts?
Yeah. So you can't say that when the person is not respectful, either in the language, either in the tone, either in the words, either in the action.
Right.
But if there's such a drastic difference in personalities, it would come through in the very early stages of the relationship, right?
I would say these factors are visible. We are ignorant. The young couples comes these days, 1 year, 2, 3 years of their marriage, 5 years. But if you talk about that couples who are married from 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, if you know that, we heard about that. Lots of long-term marriages are being breaking up. Reason is that the things were there. We were putting things under the carpet. And sometimes the reason is of the conflict that one person have maybe the psychotic traits also. Like the loneliness when you talked about, maybe this person is suffering from borderline personality disorder. The extreme trait is of loneliness. Even the person is having multiple affairs. Again, maybe having the symptoms of borderline.
Right.
So it's not one thing. Like such patients, when the partner is talking about walking out, they cut themselves. They will do something extreme. Like one person is breaking things at home. Because the fights are happening or the screamings are happening. And then maybe be having the bipolar traits.
Okay. Let's come back to little normal people. So, ma'am.
You know why I said it? Because breaking mobiles, breaking laptops, this is also very common and people are not aware about that in relationship.
So she's trying to say that these are common people.
I'm getting a little scared.
These are also common things happening.
Okay. Ma'am, what is enmeshment?
Too much into each other. No personal space.
But this happens willingly, with the willingness of both partners?
It's basically finding it out in the family system, where families share everything. So this particular case, what I was talking about, when I met with the family, the kids and the parents, I find this family is enmeshed too much into each other. And everything each person knows. Like the child of 25 years old knows what is happening in my parents' life. Parents know what is happening in my child's life, more or less. So there is no, I would say, boundary between them. So when a family is a system, the society itself is a system. We have subsystems, different families. In one family, there are different subsystems also. Now, suppose you have one kid or 2 kids. So you have with one kid, kid 1, father or the one kid relationship, then mother and the one kid relationship. Then those kids, kid 1 and kid 2 also have the sibling relationship. Then now you have a relationship with kid 2 and the father, kid 2 and with the mother. So 4 of you also as a family. So in one family, maybe the 8 dynamics of 4 people will come up.
True.
8 or 9.
True.
So they have their own bondings. So the kids have their own bondings. It is very much required. If the couple have their couple time, that is also very much required. Even you have to interact with each child. That is also very important. Even not only the mother has to interact, the father has to interact with the child. So when you are talking about enmeshment, there is no, maybe the financial things are opened up. Everything is, they say is now that our relationships with our kids is like friends. It's okay to have friendly relationship, but it's not you have to know everything about them. You have to give them some privacy. There is some personal space.
But this is a subjective factor, isn't it? Because in a family of 4 people,
95% of Indian families have enmeshment.
I quite identify with that actually, because there was a time in my life where I didn't know where I ended and my mother began.
Any relationship, it's like a husband, wife, basically that's what I'm saying it. From family we see how the relationship is like. You are coming back, you are asking and sharing each and every detail. Because opposite to enmeshment is disengagement. When you have no idea what the other person is doing. What your family member is doing, which is most popular in the Western culture.
And both are problem statements.
Yes.
Or situations.
Yeah. Healthy connectedness, healthy separatedness. That's a right state. So it's a breathing space giving to each other. If you are not giving that space even to your child, to your partner, then there is a problem. Like you choose that which friends he or she has to keep. This is a good friend, this is not a good friend. Maybe they are not good friends. But let the other person decide. No, this will impact my child, this will impact my partner. Your friends are like this, you will become like this. Again, assumption and generalization. This is like, I do not know, but when couples come to me, okay, she has lot of divorcee friends. He has lot of friends who have an extramarital affair. So he is getting influenced by there. Then if both of you are getting influenced, then both of you don't have your own brain.
This looks like enmeshment into other families.
That's a you
Not
don't
just
have
your
your
own
own
family.
brain. That you are taking something from someone, you are not thinking that where I am. It's like I'm a vegetarian, I do not drink, and I start knowing because everyone else is doing this. My all friends drink, smoke, so I should start doing. Whether my health allows. Whether
Or your
I
choices
want to
allow.
do.
Yeah.
No, whether I want to
That's
do
what.
also. It's also in enmeshment, we do things without saying. Without a boundary, we can't say no. So saying no is the biggest problem. That is the identification also.
And ma'am, this carries over from family to then your own personal relationships. And
Yes.
if somebody were to understand that, okay, maybe I am little too enmeshed with my family, now how should somebody think about it to try and see if they can come out of it?
Start putting in boundaries. Start saying no into your relationships. How much you want to share. What you want to share. So every time you need to ask yourself.
But
And
wouldn't
now
you
boundaries have different types also. You have physical boundaries. Like the dressing up is also. That is the part of a physical boundary. You like PD or you do not like PDA. That's again a physical boundary. You like certain comments or do not like certain comments on your body shaming and all. That's again the physical boundary. Then comes emotional boundary.
So wouldn't the first step be communication? Because a lot of times you don't realize whether you're overdoing it, whether it's enmeshment or whether it's detachment. Wouldn't the first step in a family be to have a conversation and let the person or other people in the family know that this is how I'm feeling or not feeling or what I would expect from them?
Now again the question comes is expression. That is a skill set. But whether if you have gone through some trauma, if you have a problem with the dominant figure, that you can't talk to the partner who is dominating, whether it is a male or a female, or whether it is your boss even. So again, the trauma is, we were talking about, there are lots of traumas. Trauma is not about physical abuse. Trauma is not about emotional abuse. Trauma is about not only sexual abuse. It's emotional neglect also, maybe the trauma. So we have to communicate what we feel. So again here the question comes about self-awareness, which is called emotional awareness. What I feel, what I want to do. Like my friends are calling me of whether I want to go or I'm just going to make them happy. That's the question we have to ask ourselves.
I don't think you really get to know whether, you're enmeshed or not enmeshed or all of that.
When you see
until you
yourself
start
with the other
asking.
families, what is happening in your surroundings, you go out in the outer world, you see what is happening in other people's family. Like there was a story, someone said it that one child got to know that her parents were living in the separate bedrooms. She thought that this is actually the home where father has own bedroom, mother has own bedroom. When she got to know that my friend's parents are sleeping in one room. So the basic thing is, till the moment you do not go and explore and learn certain things, you will not know. And the getting into the therapy or checking about where you are standing, where your relationship is standing, that's why we every 6 months after 40 we go for physical tests. You all should go for therapy. It is not about something bad is in there, something that you will lose screw. Nothing is like that. It's just you are going for your own, like I'm doing fine in life. Because everything is fine with me. It's better, you go to your car for servicing when it is running condition. Why to get into the therapy room when there is some setback?
Very true.
Very, very true.
Let's go to the therapy when you are actually living a healthy life and you think, everything is fine. Or if there is something I can get into.
2-3 times you mentioned attachment styles. What are these attachment styles?
So that impacts actually relationships. And that's how your primary caregiver is associated with you and how he nurtured you. That plays an important role, and rest of all the interactions and relationship is around that. So first is secure. So when your parents were available to you, so have faith, trust, comforting, caring. So similar, because you have seen that and you got that, you are secure. So you give that to the partner also.
Right.
So then is again anxious. So anxious, worry. Worry needs assurance, reassurance. Maybe can get clingy also. Again, maybe insecure also. Because the caregiver may be sometimes present, sometimes absent or unavailable. So inconsistency was there. So that makes the person anxious. Then comes avoidant. Maybe the caregiver was unavailable and the child learned to rely on self. Doesn't want to interact. Maybe ever the emotions comes or emotional things comes from the partner, or maybe it's heavy for the person.
So they don't want to confront, or they want to avoid the situation altogether.
The basic thing is they avoid emotions, emotional connection. They would try to be distant, no? Avoidance means distance. You make the person distant. Then is fearful avoidant. So in fearful avoidant is like you are getting fear also from the person, and the person is providing you the comfort also at the same time. So you have a fear also, you are avoiding also. Because maybe it is the result of a trauma. Maybe you have faced abuse with the caregiver. Fearful, so you need assurance also. You want to avoid also. You want the relationship. You want to avoid also.
Very complicated.
That is very complicated. The complicated is avoidant also, because making a distance. I can do everything by my own. I do not need to rely on anyone. Even anxious is also complicated, because you need other person's validation every time. Now, the combination of these things again plays a role. Secure, anxious, avoidant, anxious avoidant, fearful avoidant. So it's all plays.
No, it's interesting because there are a lot of other relationships of each of the partners which are fed into what they are today or how they are behaving today, and that all affects the relationship which the couple themselves have with each other. I'm slowly coming to the conclusion that this checkup that you're talking off and the car is running is so important, because it's very difficult otherwise to isolate these factors by yourselves, because you're more often than not blind to your
And that's
own
why
actions.
therapists go to the therapist also, na? To check them.
Absolutely.
If you identify yourself, whether you're secure or anxious and something like that, and you identify your partner as being the complete opposite of that, for example, self-analysis I'm talking about, with this knowledge, how do you bring together completely different attachment styles?
So partners completes each other. What is lacking in me, you fulfill that aspect. And that's why we are
Right.
together. It's like with, if someone, no one is complete. We all lack something or the other thing. So if suppose you want to work, that willingness should be there. And there are certain things where are very extreme. Like for example, if secure is going with the anxious one. So secure will give the assurance, the anxious one will comfort. Now secure will feel overwhelmed, strain also. And how much I will give?
Right.
I also need in return. I need either a break from this relationship. I need a holiday.
And are these things like fixed, or can you change relationships, attachment styles?
We can change. There is nothing fixed. It's again, we do not know anything. We learn from I would say that from a monkey, the evolution happened. We became a man, mobile, computer. We keep updating ourselves. We are still discovering. So this is also the discovery. People talk about genetics, people talk about lots of things. So not one single thing. If you want to work on self, the sky has no limits. You can work on self, but it's a conscious choice.
Right.
Like you want to get over the addiction. It's a conscious choice. So till the moment inside the therapy room, we says that we can work with you if you want to work. Because working with resistance, it's very difficult.
So at what stage would you, let's say in your experience, you have met numerous clients across the decades that you have worked. When do you tell a couple that this is not workable between the two of you? What do you observe that makes you say, give up? It's better for you and healthy for you to
I would say the
not
couple
be
is
together.
keep fighting, not listening to the therapy, not doing any single thing. And sometimes we use this actually as a paradox also. At least because a therapist is telling you, go ahead for the divorce. Then started thinking, okay, we do not want to, we are here for it. Working on selves. And sometimes in therapy rooms, the truths comes out. Like we are maybe the 20 years of relationship, what the other person is thinking from last 20 years about this person with whom you are living. Like example, I can say that the 10 years of married couple comes to me and I ask the wife, what do you like about your partner? She couldn't tell even 10 things. And she is living with the same partner. Just because maybe she has a good lifestyle, good exploration of her and the future. But there was nothing in the marriage.
Okay.
So it's not one thing. So like in the therapy, I said, you're living with the 10 years with this person and family. How you can't count 10 things? बुरे से बुरे इंसान में भी कोई अच्छाई होती है.
We had another therapist on the show who had basically said, one of the questions I ask any new client is, tell me 5 things you like about yourself. And people are stuck there only.
Yes.
They can't think of one
Yes,
thing.
that's very common question we ask to the person.
So, next person to फिर बात
और
ही
भी दूर
खत्म
है.
हो गई.
No, sometimes they know about other person. They don't know about themselves.
That
That is also the thing. In relationship is like, because your identity is like losing. My partner is the straight, handsome, working on self, earning money, quite intelligent, sociable, loving by the family, good son, good boss. So you'll tell them, ask them, they will tell you 20 things about the partner. But then come to self, they have nothing.
How should a couple look at major value system conflicts? Like, for example, if one wants to have kids but the other does not, and this is something, let's say they did not discuss in the courtship stage and now are in a marriage for 10 years. It's deeply personal and both of them have good reason for wanting what they want. So how should a couple approach that kind of a problem?
So one thing is value system. Somewhere the core values needs to be matched if you are into a relationship. If the core values are not matching, that is your existence. Then your existence itself as a person in the relationship is a question mark.
So in a situation like this, and if you discover it, let's say after the commitment, how do you deal with it?
So one thing is that you have to sit, talk about what are the reasons, try to understand. Is it the person is too rigid not to go for that? Or else there are certain points, okay, I have these such sort of issues, that's why I do not want to go ahead with it. So you need to address those insecurities. If there is a past trauma is playing a role. So it's again depends upon your personality type. If your personality or your partner is flexible enough, somewhere moving at the point. Extreme rigidities, that is incompatibility extreme.
Okay.
So compatibility comes when the extremes are not there. So value system on when the core values are not matching, then how you can be happy in a relationship? So your core values, your non-negotiables also. If for me the family is important, for my partner the family is not important, I will always feel unfulfilled in the relationship.
Okay.
Somewhere you have to come up on the common ground or to find it out why my partner wants the kids, how we can approach it out. For example, people are going for these days of surrogacy. They want kids, but the one partner doesn't want to conceive the kid. Okay, my body will look bad or I have to work on my shape. So that is the thing. Or either they would say that, okay, then other partner say, okay, let's want to have a baby. This is the way out. So you will come up somewhere with the common grounds.
If you talk about it in a way
Talk about,
where
you have to discuss about those things. And then you have to tell that how much important is for you as a person that you want to have kids.
But what I'm hearing you say also is that if it's a core value which is incompatible, then it's a serious red flag.
Then it is a serious red flag.
Okay, let's talk about attraction a little bit. I feel like I don't really have too much control about who I get attracted to. Is this process usually unconscious?
Yes.
And why is it? Again, this is just a discovery, but the things that you get attracted to later on, those are the things that land up becoming a problem. So I'll explain myself. So for example, I wouldn't say I'm an introvert or an extrovert. I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I can go out also and be happy. I can stay in also and be happy. But there are times when I actually want to go out. And I also want my partner to go out. But the people that I land up getting attracted to are the people that stay in. Okay, and I'm attracted to them because they're able to do that. And, they're able to be by themselves. But now, 5 years later, cut to 5 years later, why are you always inside? Why can't you come out with me? So, why is it that...
So then the emotional quotient plays role. How you can change also this when unconsciously attraction happened. Then now you have to ask, what is important for you? Here the roles of value system comes. Here is the role of relationship value system comes. Here the role of non-negotiable comes. So it's like everything is somewhere correlated.
Speaking of attraction, is monogamy natural to humans?
It's a great question.
The reason I'm asking this is a large family of mammals, it's not the case. I don't know if all or not, but a large family of mammals, it's not the case. So for humans as a species, is monogamy natural? I mean, you may choose to be one for various reasons, for commitment reasons, for your own peace, or whatever be the reason. You also get something in return because you get monogamy in return as well. So you could do it or agree to it for various reasons, but is it natural to expect, or is it is attraction outside a committed relationship not unusual? Whether you choose to control it or not is part B of the question. So but part A is it natural?
Where we were saying it that attraction can happen unconsciously. But further role plays is how your emotions plays role, how your emotional regulation part is there, emotional processing is there, emotional management is there, social management is there. So it's everything comes all together and then become the product. So I believe that it is not only also the question of integrity. Now, if you'll ask me, out of 100, I will say the couples, you can't expect your partner will be totally never attract towards anyone, never had a liking for someone. It's unrealistic expectations. I, as a therapist, think this is my professional thing, that you can't expect your partner will not look at other, or may not flirt with anyone, may not have a eye on someone. It's not normal that it would happen, whether it's a male or a female. Like, male also has the choice, female have double choices. Now again, you choose, or you want to walk out on that pathway, that's up to you.
But let's say there's a couple, again, I'm talking about a long-term committed couple in a marriage or in a relationship, 10, 15 years into the relationship. And so there is undercurrents if one of the partners is experiencing, some major attraction towards somebody else. Now, just assuming that this person does not want to step into the step outside of this relationship, but there's a whole play that is going on, because those undercurrents, it puts out, like, I know that there's something going on with my partner, for example. It is impacting me. I'm, getting into that area of insecurity of my own. And that partner is also fighting with, how do I not step out, what to do, right? So couples in situations like that, what would you advise them? How would you tell them to deal with a situation like that?
So one is that having attraction is normal. You have feeling for someone is normal. You want to be with that person is normal. Now what you want to do? Because whenever we take it is the part of a decision making. We think about pros and cons. We think about whenever we have to take any decision, how this decision is impacting me. And what is the cost of this decision? How much loss, like, is it 1 versus 4, 1 versus 3? What I am losing because of this? Is it this person is worth it for doing that also? Or whether I want to be back to my partner. I do want, because you are sharing with the therapist or even with the friend also that I have a liking or attraction towards someone. It means you want to either overcome, either you want to go ahead. 2 options are there. So now you have to explore which option you want to choose. If you do not have the clarity, then intrinsic motivation plays a role. Sometimes when I say did that, maybe the person is not aware what sort of partner he or she wants. Just got into a love marriage. And now finding it out, okay, this is not the type of guy I was looking for, or this is not the type of girl I was looking for. Because I have self-awareness years later down the line. So here again, conscious effort of a person plays role. How consciously you want to work on that thing. How important your marriage or your committed partner is to you.
Right.
Or whether if you are unsatisfied in your relationship, whether your committed partner is ready to address those unresolved issues between both of you. Your, I would say, unmet needs to be addressed. That is also important. Because somewhere maybe the other person is lacking.
So it's fair to say that multiple attractions are a natural phenomena, but singular relationships, that's an active choice.
I have to say it is very hard because it is very confusing when it is happening. Like in not per se in the attraction example, but other things when there's a conflict going on, and because like you're saying, it's any conflict is not a result of one thing, right? 5 things are playing. As an experience, it's very, very difficult to come to, that kind of clarity. And also, then I think the insecurities come out so strong that it's hard to have a conversation with the person involved. So it makes it even more complicated. So.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying going to a therapist for self is important. Suppose my mood is off. In that mood, I'm irritated. I may snap back. But if my partner started taking it personally, I do not want to talk. I want to sleep. My partner is telling me, no, talk to me. It's like you will snap back. So the person will take to the heart, okay, how you are talking to me.
But if these are, let's say, incidents which occur apart from each other in a time zone, then you could put it down to the mood of the person or the state of mind of that particular person at that particular point in time. But if it's chronic, then I read it or interpret it as a couple problem.
No, it is not a possibility always that, okay, if the person is doing it regularly, repetitively, it is you are responsible. It may be the person has his internal problems or something. So again,
it might not be a relationship problem, it might be the partner's problem, or could be what is going on in their lives which you may not have visibility to.
You do not know that what is getting to your partner's mind.
That's actually a very great point. We maybe also half the time we do not know what's going on with the other person. And we assume that we know because we just spend so much quantity time with, the intimate partner and don't really know actually what's going on. Because things like finance, when we talk about it, today I think it's a thing, it's a big thing. It plays a major power dynamic kind of a situation in an intimate relationship. I have been in a really long relationship now where the earnings have shifted multiple times, multifold. And because it's not usual for a woman to earn more than the guy, right? In our culture, at least. It shifts the power dynamics very differently. And the experience of the guy becomes completely different. Than that insecurity and all of that to be able to handle, need a lot of maturity. It all happened quite young ages, right? Like at 23, 24. I, as a girl, am on a high that, okay, I'm earning so much money now. We can go and, spend that weekend in Goa and all of that. The guy on the other side, which I think should have made him happy, is feeling crushed.
And you're not reading that because you don't know what's going through his mind. I'm not reading that at all because I'm like, last weekend you took me, this weekend I'm going to take you. So I am coming with like...
This is competitive trait also comes in. Ego also plays a role in this.
Yeah, so I think...
And maybe sometimes we have the traditional role of females. Be submissive and the men to be the bread earner.
Yeah, observation-wise, that's what we have seen...
and it is
our elders' relationships going through.
Ingrained, no?
Yeah, that's engraving because that's been your primary observation.
And
so that self-respect also plays, the self-esteem or self-worth plays a role in that.
But I don't think we prepare our boys for that kind of thing, right? Because it's also a very new thing, I assume. I don't know.
So, interesting. So, and this is my experience. So, there was a phase where... as a couple, we went through an experience where I chose to follow, let's say, an irregular job versus what I was doing earlier. And in fact, my expectations changed differently. I expected my partner to contribute more. So it was reverse. And it worked for a while till my expectations were to allow me to do more irregular work so that you please continue supporting us. So it was reverse.
Completely reverse, actually.
So it's like, sometimes you feel relaxing also. My partner is contributing. Yeah. Hey, we don't have a problem. We are like we. It's not I versus you.
No, in fact, I remember having this conversation and saying, hey, can you look for opportunities which will help our monetary situation better because I'm unlikely in the next 2-3 years to get there.
So, us, you use the word. Our as a team. Not I versus you. I am earning, like this sofa I brought, this fridge you brought. So, that is I. Where the clash is there. It's we are doing this.
Would it be right to say that a reasonably long, lengthy, longish dating period results in a healthier, intimate relationship eventually? No.
Maybe 1.5 year time is good enough to identify. Okay. Go to a therapist, I would say. Premarital counseling.
Okay.
It should be must. So that it helps you what real self of yours is. What your real self is. What you are looking into a partner. What your core values are.
But it's a very important point you made.
Because when you
गुण मिलाने तो जाते ही हैं. तो उससे अच्छा go to a counselor and find out whether characteristics मिल रहे हैं कि नहीं.
Another thing is also this is self-discovery also, no? You get to know more about self.
Yeah.
But ma'am, for like, let's say, I don't know if this is right to say, but therapy is expensive, at least some bit of expensive. So for people who, let's say, cannot afford it and are getting into or are planning to get into a long-term relationship, maybe what are some of the questions they can ask themselves or with each other that you would suggest?
One thing is that it's not the therapy is costly. There are the very affordable therapists also.
I agree.
No, actually, it's important to understand that because, I mean, what somebody is not, services that somebody have not availed for, they may not even know. So
Yeah, there are the free counseling centers also there.
there you go.
Like from long time back, because I myself started my career with the free counseling center where we used to earn for 5,000 rupees and we used to work morning, evening and night shift. I myself did the job for 5 years. So at that time, utna to gaadi ka petrol lag jata tha. So it's again about that when you are talking about a relationship aspect, what you want.
First, identify that.
That's more important. It's like every question has the answer and the answer is lying with you.
And in today's dating scenario, for the
So what
people
questions to ask?
who are dating today, not more than questions. The way people are dating today, apps and multiple choices and all of that. Is it? Are we creating some kind of an unreal expectation for as a long-term partner for each other or something like that?
So how many people on dating apps are searching for a real partner? That's the first question. The concepts like soulmates, again confusing to the people. Sometimes they say one soulmate, they have multiple soulmates. So again, it's like that you are meeting the other person for a fun, you are meeting it for exploration, you do not want to get into rebound, you have a breakup. My friends told me, let's go on a dating app, find a boyfriend. You may feel good, someone will make you feel good. So what you are looking in that dating app thing. So it's not about mismatch. Which way you are going now, then
So
you
it-
need to decide.
Comes back to knowing yourself first and what you want. And that seems like the running theme of our conversation today, even though we're talking about intimate relationships.
That's
So
true.
then because the relationship is again about two people. It's never about one person. And if you are unhappy, definitely the other partner is also unhappy, no? It's not that I am happy.
One subject I want to check. Ghosting. It's quite a new phenomena, I must say. What happens? Why does a person ghost? And personally speaking, from personal experience, being at the receiving end of being ghosted by somebody, it's a terrible experience. Like, I just could not understand what happened, what did I do wrong, or what went wrong, because it's so sudden. Somebody that you're interacting with every second, third day, and suddenly there's like a full drop. So can we talk a little bit about what goes on in ghosting?
So when you're talking about ghosting, if someone is ghosting you, like just talking to you normally and one day the person disappears, blocked you from everywhere, the first thing is that I would suggest to you also, and you have to think on those lines also, that if person is doing, the person is not emotionally mature. He or she may be lacking communication skill set. Maybe has his or her own set of fears. Not ready for commitment. Not happy with the relationship. It is not because of you personally. There may be numerous reasons. Options are there. Maybe the person is seeing multiple people, having multiple friends, finding it out. Maybe want the power dynamic, control dynamics also.
But why would a person just drop off? Like, they can say, no, I don't want to be there anymore, and go off. Why would this just suddenly
So
drop
when you
off?
say someone, when we were saying it, expression, I want. So you are taking responsibility what I want. I am going off. So I am taking the ownership. If I want a divorce, I want. So when you say I want, you take the ownership or responsibility that this is what I am looking for. The responsibility doesn't come under the other person. So you are not getting the closure. So you have a problem. You started taking things personally. That's a problem. You are looking for that other person will give you explanation. Explanation the mature person will give you. No? Why I am doing so? Because I have the clarity. So it's not about you. It's all about the person who is doing that act. So ghosting is not defining your self-worth. Because when the person ghosts you, you started questioning your worth. You started thinking, this person is making me realize I have done something wrong.
Is it possible in long-term relationships to have that closeness, sexual desire, other desires, that security, novelty? Is it possible to have all of this in a long-term relationship, or is that a myth?
What 10% is required for you, important for you, that needs to be addressed, fulfilled. The rest, everything can be managed.
Right. So it's like, don't put all your wishes into the relationship. There's a whole other life that's going on.
Because another relationship is just a part of your life, not your whole life. So you should have career aspirations. You have your social circle. You have your parents. You have your siblings. You have your relatives. You have your friends. You have your neighbors, colleagues. There are the social circle aspect which is very important. Another thing is you also. You as your personal growth. You as a physical growth. You as a psychological growth. You talk about your emotional growth. You talk about your spiritual growth. There are lots of parameters. So relationship is just one of the part of life. It's like the car has 4 wheels. A relationship with the partner is 1 wheel. Even if you add in that wheel the kids. So the partner's importance get reduced to that. It's like it's like when we are kids. What is most important for us? Fun, play, more study, then job maybe, or a career, then with marriage, then kids after marriage, their education, their marriages, where other relationship goes. So everything else becomes secondary later on with the passage of time. These are milestones. So each relationship has its own value. How much attention, love, care is required, that much you give. There is a capacity. And again, there are lots of people in surroundings. Some plants require more water, some requires lesser water. Why you want to pour all water in one plant? Pour it in 10 plants. You have other relationships also. Because lots of things being not only fulfilled by your partner. You too much invest in one relationship, then you expect too much. The people says, expect less. I would say invest less. When investment is lesser, expectations would be lesser. It's like the rule is like complete sentence nobody says. I'm not saying now you say, okay, have multiple partners. I'm not saying that. I'm saying be in a committed relationship, but give that much of importance which is required. Take care of yourself, I versus we. Take care of yourself, your partner. Take care of your work, ambitions. Maybe you are earning money or lesser money, that doesn't matter. But you are doing something fruitful, which makes you, I'm good enough.
That's lovely. That's really, really nice to know, hear, and reinforce that there's so many aspects in life and relationship is just one of them.
To me, there were 3 big pieces in this entire conversation, Doctor, which were absolutely fantastic to learn about and know about. The first was in capital. Get to know yourself first in order to have a better intimate relationship with anyone. To me, that came across loud and clear and multiple times. It's a great, great input. The second was happily ever after is not an end state, but it is a continuous state because things evolve, you keep learning, and this process continues, and it's not that you've reached that place ever. And the third takeaway is that for both of these, for self-awareness and to continuously evolve and learn, the third biggest factor for me is get somebody to help you with it. And hopefully stay in the happily ever after state continuously.
Anything, ma'am, you would like to tell any of our audience?
I would say, I think so. I want to only say that take relationship as a part of life, not your whole life. That's the key thing. Once you will take it as a part of life, you will be able to handle every problem even has happened in relationship. Because you think it's just a part. And if part has a problem, it should not impact my whole life. Neither my career, neither my other relationships, or neither my health.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for this amazing episode, and I hope to see you soon again.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Dr. Khanna. Really grateful for the session, and I'm sure the audiences will love the inputs that you've given to them to live a better, rather have a better relationship with their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To reach Dr. Khanna, all the details are in the show note captions. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you soon again next time.